I wanted to come to you this afternoon and bring to you another installment of the Piers Morgan Jordan Peterson interview. And in this part of the interview, Piers asked Jordan Peterson, how do you feel about what Oliva Wilde, the film director, had to say about you? And he asked him a question. We're going to see it in a second, but Oliva Wilde, for those who don't know, is a film director, and she directed a movie that just came out that is apparently based upon Jordan Peterson, one of the characters in the movie is, and they kind of made him a kind of evil, bad, kind of temperamental, but person, and not a very savory kind of guy. But anyways, we're gonna put up here, the question that Piers Morgan asked Jordan Peterson and his response to that. But let me go ahead and save that up for you.
I've got to wrap it up. I don't want to, but I have to. I want to ask you just quickly. The film director Oliva Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Incel being these weirdo loner men who are despicable in many ways. Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people?
Sure. Why not? People have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. What a terrible thing to do that is. Thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
It's making you emotional.
Well, God, it's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. And certainly many young men are in that category. And you get these casual insults, these incels. What do they mean? It's like, these men, they don't know how to make themselves attractive to women who are very picky, and good for them. Women, be picky. That's your gift, man. Demand high standards from your men. Fair enough. But all these men who are alienated, it's like they're lonesome and they don't know what to do, and everyone piles abuse on them.
When she said that, Oliva Wilde, it stung you, didn't it? That's all.
By that time, as far as critiques go, that was kind of low level. I mean, once I got painted as Red Skull, magical super Nazi, that was kind of the end of the insults. There's no place past that. So when Oliva Wilde made those comments, the first thing I did was go look at the preview for her movie, which I quite liked. I thought I would go see that movie probably, and perhaps I will. It didn't really bother me. My family and I talked about it right away, and we were able to respond to it with some degree of humor, which then people completely misunderstood. I said I hope that, that if I had to be played by someone, he's a very good-looking man, and so that seems all right, And then I said something like, I hope he gets my fashion style choice right when he plays me. And it was a joke. All that was a joke.
I mean, you've been so controlled today. And yet, in that brief moment, you got very emotional. Why?
It's really something to see constantly how many people are dying for lack of an encouraging word. And how easy it is to provide that if you're careful. Give credit where credit is due. And to say, you're a net force for good if you want to.
Do you believe you're a net force for good?
Net, yes. In all the details, probably not. No one's perfect. So, people make their mistakes as they stumble uphill.
Jordan's been a fascinating interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Olivia said incels are basically disenfranchised, mostly white men who believe they are entitled to sex from women, and they believe that society has now robbed them, that the idea of feminism is working against nature, and that we must be put back into the correct place. She then described Peterson as someone who legitimizes certain aspects of their movement because he's a former professor, he's an author, he wears a suit, so they feel like this is a real philosophy that should be taken seriously. Interesting to me. We got to take her seriously. Some 38-year-old filmmaker and actress. But we don't have to take, and we shouldn't take, people like Jordan Peterson, who's a doctor, a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist who taught at Harvard and taught at the University of Toronto, and is 60 years old. But we got to take her seriously. We have to legitimize her, but not him. So I found the interesting, number one. And number two, the kind of the left side of the aisle right now, and not to be too political, but they kind of had this view to where they don't want you to stereotype people at all based on, ethnicity or sexual orientation or gender or race or anything else. And I'm not saying that's good, but what I am saying is you weren't allowed to. That's looked down upon. But yet they're going to stereotype men, and white men in particular. And that's pretty. I'm just going on what she said. But again, we're kind of allowed right now to demonize certain people. And again, they've kind of set up groups. If you're a woman, you're a victim. If you're a black woman, you're even more of a victim. If you're a gay black woman, you're even more of a victim. If you're a gay black trans woman, and if you're a gay black, disabled, it goes on and on. But people that aren't really allowed in their group are straight, what they call cisgendered white men are not really allowed in their group. And men in particular aren't allowed in their group, but especially straight, no disables, no disability white men are not allowed in their group. And the fact of the matter is, there are victims from every walk of life. We all have certain forms of the victim and the victimizer within us. And, and of course, they don't want you to understand that fact. They don't want you to, look sympathetically or empathetically upon men. And, there are a lot of men that are they're kind of forgotten about. They're kind of pushed back. They're kind of living within the shadows in a way. I think I was reading a study done not too long ago, and I'll put a link to it in the description of the video, but about how I think it was 30% or right about 30% men 30 and below have not had sex. And I think it was never had sex. That's shocking. I mean, there really is. And it's like, if young men want to have sex, so we got to understand this, that it's not like they're turning sex down. They want to have sex. And normally they will have sex with somebody, and I don't mean this mean, but far less attractive than they are. And I'm not saying that all of these guys are attractive. I'm just saying that men don't seem to be too picky. That's the wording I should use. But they're not that picky on this stuff, so it's not like they're turning people down. But the fact is, they're just not having sex. They're not having the opportunity to have sex. So, it's like these kind of men are not entitled incels. It's like they're not, they may have certain views of the world, and they understand something. It's not working. It's not working in the way that we think what they think it should work. And I think it should work in a way. It's definitely not working right now. Okay. It's not working. We've got to be honest about the fact things are pretty screwed up out there. And, it's like we're dividing people against each other, and it's just not working very well. And these guys, I think who she's talking about, if she's talking about these incel guys, these that believe they should have sex from women and they're entitled to whatever. Who is she talking about? Is she talking about the top level guys, the top percentage of guys that, the good looking guys and, that drive fancy cars and make all kinds of money? Because guess what? Apparently they are entitled to have sex. Because the fact of the matter is, women want to have sex with them. So it's like, but so who are you talking about? Are you talking about these guys that are having sex? Because, it's like they feel entitled. Well, apparently they don't feel entitled. Those, 30% that aren't having sex, they don't feel entitled to any of this, apparently. Or they would be having sex. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, people who don't have something don't feel, they understand. They might want to pretend that they should be having something, but they understand deep down they're not entitled to it, because if they were entitled to it, they'd be having it. So it's like, I'm really kind of trying to understand who she's talking about here. And I think that's what the problem is like we're actually kicking the actual people that really are the victims in this situation. We have this view again that men, especially white men, are some kind of oppressors. They belong exclusively within that category, and the fact is they don't belong exclusively in that category, and sometimes not at all. They're not entitled people. They don't make the money. They don't, they're living in their mom's basement and they're 35, 40 years old. And, they're not, they're not the people you think they are. They're some kind of marginalized group that kind of lives in the shadows. And I think that's what Dr. Peterson was kind of, talking about here, but it's like, yeah, I'll be the leader of these guys, because these guys need they need someone to speak up for them. They need someone to say, you know what? Yeah, they need help. They need help. They need people to speak up for them. They're marginalized. They're not controlling anything. They're not these, the patriarchy, the whatever bullshit term that we got to put on things, because they're not that. They're not that at all. And so again, I don't know who Miss Wilde is talking about, but it's like these guys that Jordan Peterson is speaking to. Jordan Peterson talks about things like, accountability and, taking ownership of yourself and being accountable for you and going after what you want. And, not lying, being honest with people, being honest with yourself. And, in the very opposite of what I think Oliva Wilde believes that he is. And it's like, have you ever read any of his books? I mean, really, have you ever read one of his books? And if you have, I read them too, and please point out to me where he's going off the rails, where he's saying something that's not right, when he's advocating for, this kind of abusive, controlling, idea of toxic masculinity. Where's he advocating this? And but again, guys, I think that people like Miss Wilde seem to want to cast people into particular groups, and again, that's a form of stereotyping that she and others on that side of the aisle like to do. That's one form that they approve of. And again, we got to understand that that it's like we've also got to understand that men very often kind of jump on men too. They kind of demonize men, because the fact of the matter is, so many guys don't feel like men. I know that might sound weird, but so many men don't feel like men. They identify men as something toxic and evil because they don't they see themselves as victims sometimes, and they don't identify with that part. So they demonize these strong men that are, kind of what you would call more alpha types out there doing something and, assure themselves as toxic. And the very fact of the matter is, most of them aren't. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I think, I think controlling natures and, certain forms of toxicity kind of exist within all of us. And, but so many men view themselves as less than what it is to actually be a man. So they hold men up here. They hold men here, and they're here. So they don't quite see themselves as full men. So what they do a lot of times is they demonize those who they think are, up here, are real men. They demonize them, because they're upset and they're seeing that they're down here, and they're seeing that these guys that are up here are not them. So it's easy to kind of demonize groups that are outside of what you are. You don't really have a connection to that. And I think a lot of men don't have a connection to being a man. They don't feel like they are an actual man. And I know that might sound weird to some of you, but I've had a conversation. I have conversations with many men in my life, and of course, being one myself, I kind of understand that so many men don't view themselves as actual men, and they view themselves as not quite meeting the standard of being a man. And so that's something I wanted to throw out there. So it's easy to demonize people and groups of people, even if you are one. If you don't see yourself as one, it's very easy to demonize that groups of people, even if you are that. So But anyways, guys, I'm gonna kind of cut this here. But let me know what you think in the comments. And you son of a